Hello everybody, it's Vertical Sandwich. Welcome back to Book Reviews. So, our thing tonight is, or today is 1997's winner, Blue Mars, the conclusion to the Mars Trilogy by Kim Stanley Robinson. So, so book 1 and book 2 really kind of cover, it does really read like one long narrative of just a handful of people. There's like 100 people who start, and I think at the end, I don't remember how many of them are left. But it's, geez, I don't remember, but like it's a good amount. Like it's not 50, it's less than 50. How about that? So, and that's what I mean. The book really is faithful, following these people. So, all right. So like here we go. This is the back thing. The red planet is no more. Now green and verdant, Mars has been dramatically altered from a desolate world into one where humans can flourish. The first 100 settlers are being pulled into a fierce new struggle between the Reds, a group devoted to preserving Mars in its desert state, and the green terraformers. Meanwhile, Earth is in peril. A great flood threatens an already overcrowded and polluted planet. With Mars the last hope for the human race, the inhabitants of the red planet are heading towards a population explosion or interplanetary war. Right, so volcanoes erupt under the Antarctic and cause sea levels to rise at crazy rates, and then people on Mars try to take control of Mars to stop people from Earth coming unless they can get their own independence. That's kind of where this goes. So that's the thing that happens in this book. Now, this book is the longest of the books. It's 760 pages. So that makes it a good 100 pages longer than its nearest rival. And rounds out the trilogy. Now, here's the thing, is, again, I know I said this earlier. Well, I'll give you an example. So here we go. Shining Mesa had a large top, more a kite shape than a diamond proper. 30 kilometers long and 10 wide, standing in the middle of a Candor chasma, like a Monument Valley Mesa writ large. The tent town occupied only a small rise on the southern point of the kite. The mesa was just what it appeared to be, a detached fragment of the plateau that the Marineris Canyons had split. It was a tremendous vantage point for viewing the great walls of Candor, with views through the deep, steep gaps in Ophir Chasma to the north and Melis Chasma to the south. Naturally, such a spectacular prospect had attracted people over the years, and the main tent was surrounded by new smaller ones. At 5 kilometers above the datum, the town was still tented, though there was talk of removing it. The floor of Candor Chasma, only 3 kilometers above the datum, was patched with growing dark green forests. Many of the people who lived on Shining Mesa flew down into the canyons every morning to farm or botanize, floating back up to the mesa's top in the late afternoons. A few of these flying foresters were old underground acquaintances of Nurgle's, and they were pleased to take him along and show him the canyons and what they did in them. The Marineris Canyon floors generally run down west to east. In Candor, they curved around the great central mesa, then fell precipitously south into Melis. Snow lay on the higher parts of the floor, especially under the western walls where shadows lay in the afternoon. Meltwater from this snow ran down into a faint tracery of new watersheds, made up of sandy braided stream beds that ran together into a few shallow, muddy red rivers, which collected at a confluence just above the Candor Gap, and poured down in a wild, foaming rapids to the floor of Melis Chasma, where it pooled against the remnant of the 61 Glacier, running readily against its northern flank. On the banks of all these opaque red streams, forest galleries were springing up. They consisted in most places of cold-hardened balsas, and other very rapidly growing tropical trees, creating new canopies over older krumholes. These days it was warm on the canyon floor, which was like a big sun-reflecting bowl, protected from the wind, The balsa canopies were allowing a great number of plant and animal species to flourish underneath them. Virgil's acquaintances said it was the most diverse biotic community on Mars. They had to carry sedative dart guns now when they landed and walked around because of bears, snow leopards, and other predators. Walking through some of the galleries was becoming difficult because of thickets of snow, bamboo, and aspen. Alright, so like, I know what you're saying. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, Vertical Sandwich picked that passage to illustrate how boring the book can be. I did. I picked that passage to show you that this is literally 1,600 pages after this trilogy has started, that he's still just describing landforms. He's still just going like, oh, so this place, like, and here's the thing. I don't know. I don't know what to say about that except for the fact that I found it excruciating. I found it absolutely excruciating that, like, what I want to know about is what's happening. And, like, what I'm getting is kind of, and I mean, I know you're like, oh, bears and leopards on Mars, like, that's crazy. And it's like, well, yeah, it's crazy, sure, it's crazy, but, like, there's actually not a ton of time given to the introduced wildlife or a lot of the biotic stuff. There is a good amount of time given to the people. I will say that. There is a plot line that involves people. There is. I swear. Virgil's one of the main characters from, like, the second book. Right? So, fine. There are, but, like, for me, what this book felt like it was trying to do was what the last three books in the Rama Quartet did so well, which was do a multi-book epic about kind of a society and people. And I didn't like what this book did. I loved what the Rama series did, and I didn't love what this book did. Did I like some of the characters? Yeah, I really loved Nadia. I didn't mind Maya. She's written the way she's supposed to be written. Virgil was okay. Like, I liked art a lot. Like, I liked characters in this book, right? And I liked kind of some of the stuff that happened. But these books couldn't. So it says on the back of here, one of the most enthralling science fiction sagas ever written. Kim Stanley Robinson's epic trilogy concludes with Blue Mars, a triumph of prodigious research and visionary storytelling. Prodigious research, yes. Visionary storytelling, meh. That's what I have to say. There's so much landscape and scientific detail piled onto this plot line that it trudges. It just trudges. You just feel like you're reading. Yeah, I mean, it almost feels like you're reading a legitimate historical biography. Like, where like literally you would just expect to see notes on the bottom with references to other histories and stuff, and just be like, oh, I could read Nadia's collected writings, volume 4, for references to how she acted in this conference. Like, that's what this feels like, and it's like, is that okay? I mean, sure, is it realistic? Yeah, but it's also exhaustively kind of boring. Like, when it comes to that stuff. It just struck me as being very badly paced. So, like, the first book is really nice. But the first book is kind of packed with action, right? They're landing on Mars. Like, they think, like, somebody sees a stowaway on the ship, and, like, they know that's impossible, but this person's completely convinced there might be somebody stowed away on the ship. And you're like, oh, this is super exciting. And then, like, people get murdered and stuff, and, like, there are floods, and, like, it's crazy. It's just crazy. And, like, there are terrorists, and you're like, this is nuts. It's absolutely nuts. And then you get to the second book, and you're like, I think the second book is where they bring down the space elevator, which is really cool. And you're like, this is great. Like, this is super eventful. And then you're just like, and here's 5 pages of landscape detail. Oh, and then there's like this, and then you're like, there's 3 pages of just landscape detail. But, like, by the time you get to the third book, it's so heavy. It's so heavy. You just go like, seriously. I'm here for a conclusion. I followed these people through 150 years of their life. Like, I just want to know what happens. And so, I mean, I don't know what you want to say about that. You, like, You say, oh, it's brave and it's new and it's okay, that's fine, but I didn't find it entertaining. And to me, that's a crime. I didn't want to read more. If I wasn't trying to finish a list, I wouldn't have read Blue Mars. I never would have. I would have finished Green Mars and been like, I'm not reading Blue Mars. But I had to finish a list, and that was just the way I felt about it. If what you want, if you just can't get enough of reading about the geology of Mars, like everything about land, like you pore over Mars maps and you know the names of all the features on the surface, and like you've always just dreamed of what it's like to live there. Oh my God, read these books. You will love them. You will absolutely totally love them. What you want is like a sci-fi book that follows characters through their lives, and that's its focus. Well, I don't know if this is for you because the focus of this is on the geology of Mars, right? That's all I'm saying is that there's just a ton of geology in here, a ton, and I'm okay with that. I'm actually okay with that. When you're reading Red Mars. When you're reading Red Mars and you're getting used to the Martian landscape and the environment they're living in, that's fine. I just don't need detailed descriptors of every environment 3 books into a trilogy. Like if we haven't figured out we're on Mars by now, I don't know. I just don't know. I really don't. I don't know what else to say about that. I know it's award winning. It's always hard for me to say about a Hugo Award winner that I didn't like it. But I didn't. It really was like pulling teeth for me to finish. I mean, I really had to plow through the 3rd book of this trilogy. It did. It was just hard for me to finish. So that's my review of that. And next week, or when we come back, another Hugo Award winner. Bye, everybody.